put their flag in the sand, so to speak, and say, hey, we're the best team in North America right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of teams gunning for that spot. The obvious names, CLG, TSM, they're in there as well. But there's a few teams like that are coming through a little bit, and like Tom was talking about a few teams. Hill's a player that I'm going to be watching a lot as well, because I think that his team are very, very good at rotating, like he previously mentioned, and excited to see how they progress, because they seem like one of those teams that have just been getting better and better and better as time has gone on. So we'll have to see what those guys do today, but super excited to be alongside you as always, Raining, Don. First game of the day.
It's been fun. It was a great halftime, too, for all 12,000 plus of you watching on Twitch and the many thousands of you watching alongside YouTube. Welcome. North America kicking off in style. And we take a look at TSM first off. Some prime examples of just competitors at the highest level at all times. These guys will not be giving up anything easily. In fact, now with Complexity out, definitely one of the favorites with the form that they've been in. If you were able to catch a couple of their scrims the other day, or not scrims actually, qualifying matches, it was superb play. I'm looking at the Overlook finish as well with NRG in that final circle with them, where they kept tight and were just really able to do what they needed. And they're going to be somebody we keep an eye out on for sure. Right now, though, MST also in Fragment, and 6, Metro Goat, and Tempest kind of holding down with their wingmans at the bottom corner of that building.
Yeah, a few shots are going to be exchanged through some windows and some crevices of these buildings, but it'd be good to get a look at where that first circle is going to be going when we do get that opportunity to do so. But I think this game one is going to be very interesting for me. I think that it's a real opportunity for some of the teams who kind of progressed throughout the season, last season, the autumn circuit to the winter circuit. Now, can they make that jump, though, into that top 5 teams who are going to be consistently speaking about as these tournaments roll on? That's the question for me. Is anyone going to make that jump from that top 10, top 15 into that top 5 and really push some of those big names?
And that is the question. These teams all set out with a ton of ambition, but not everybody's able to, I think, secure it. And that is where we start to see the differences here. A lot of focus on MST early on. They are in a skirmish. They do have that triple take. And in the meta, that sniper has pretty much reigned supreme over the last couple of months. Obviously, a lot of room to change, and Season 8 will change all of that with the 30-30 repeater live coming at you in just 2 days, I believe. February 2nd, that season will be out. Kings Canyon and the mayhem of Fuse will be unleashed into the Apex lands, and oh man, am I excited. And you can best believe that that is going to shake up a little bit of the weapon meta right now. But as we are here still in the 31st triple take, Arthur 1's Mastiffs, these things are going to be reigning supreme for a lot of our players and their choices.
100%, and we did get to look at where that circle is, and Team XD, they're going to be smiling their way into Sorting Factory right now, because that is where that circle is going to be pulling pretty heavily as well. So you're going to see a lot of teams maybe try and get control of those smaller buildings just to the north side of Sorting Factory. Maybe a little bit of late roof play as well as teams do move in. Speaking of moving in, TSM on their way in. And for Sentinels, who do, of course, drop around Sorting Factory, that's going to be a great first circle for them. A good way to feel their way into the game here as Snipedown, you can see, suggesting a few locations, pinging down where he wants to move, as you also saw in the kill feed as well. Sentinels getting involved with a charge rifle in their hand, getting it down.
And you can see there's a little bit of a leech opportunity here for TSM. They realize there's some fighting happening, and I think that might be Hallows actually pursuing this. Sorcerer just going to use that gold shield and healed up 2 shield cells. Will get him back into the fight. Maybe a little faster than most assume, even though they know after shooting him what color shield he has. One of the great changes back a while ago that Apex Legends made. But I do like to see the way that these teams are going about it. There's a lot of, again, aggression, but not in the same way we saw in Europe on set. And I think that might be what to focus on here. The tone, definitely a little bit more European. The skirmishes, but not the full commits. Not the teams actually going down. We've only played a few minutes, but that is more than we saw in Europe before teams started falling, before teams full committed, especially in Game 1, which had us about this period of time with 14 squads remaining. And so I think right now, if anything, I'm noticing North America understands where this final circle is going to be and content to ride this out a little bit more safely before they start making some bigger gambles.
Yeah, I think that first game from Europe surprised everyone earlier on. The fact that we had 13 teams before that first circle had closed left in the lobby was a shock to everyone. There was a bit of contention going on, but obviously also people being willing to take those isolated 3v3 fights instead of prioritizing that rotation. Whereas here, very different. You have a look at the map overhead there, and you can see that 80% around that, I'd say, of teams are already inside that second circle or found somewhere to play inside Sorting Factory. That means we're going to have a little bit slower of a start to the game here, as Solafide are looking to maybe buck that trend a little bit and take a fight, as unfortunately that frag grenade is going to bounce off of the front door.
Whoa.
However, those shots are going to absolutely melt. Wicked there, and some more from Gentrifying. It's going to cause all sorts of problems.
And you know the Mastiff is going to continue not only to cause problems, but as I like to say, solve them. Because when someone's in your face and the Mastiff shows up, puts an end to that conversation very, very quickly. Solafide looking sharp out the gates, and just the laser beam coming through. These guys definitely in form today with 19 squads. That's the first one to go down. Looking at Sync's items right there and taking his pick.
Yeah, that was some crazy stuff. I mean, Gentrifying pretty much almost 1v3'd that. He got the initial knock, he got some big massive damage as well when, moved in to help his teammate finish off that final kill as well. Speaking of moving in, here's Counter Logic Gaming, and it looks like they're going to be making a portal play here under one of those outside buildings that I was talking about, trying to see if that's safe, but it looks like there is a little bit too much pressure for them to take that early. It's around a minute or so until that zone does close here, zone number 1, but this is one of those games which is going to be a little bit of a slow burner. There's a lot of real estate to play inside a Sorting Factory for these teams. So now that they're set up and a lot of teams have already found somewhere to play, you're not going to see a lot of movement from them. There's going to be a little bit of poke damage, trying to level up some Evo shields. But when it starts to get to that third, that fourth ring, we are going to see carnage here on World's Edge.
And it's a nice big space, too. And it seems to have been a decent rotation for a lot of these teams. Not too much contest on the route there, which has helped to keep, I think, tensions a little lower than maybe what we saw across the pond. G7 Scouts had a ton of play so far today as well. A little bit out of range with the 2-4, even though that's pretty much a fantastic scope for the weapon, just maybe reaching there. But again, when you're looking at just 30, 40, 25, whatever you're trying to hit just to get that Evo shield back up, you could see Oi Senpai in desperate need, only on white right now, so doing everything he can. And if you want to look at what the opposite of that is, Onset, let's take a look at Liquid, because they're all three on gold.
This is the most bling Apex Legends team I've ever seen in my life. Gold armor, gold plate, and these guys are balling. The only problem is they're a long way outside the zone here, so they've got to make their way around, but they're going to be able to go through zone, take a little bit of damage here, because they do have those gold armors, so it's only going to be a few syringes to get them back up to full HP. And I kind of like this rotation as well, making their way down to the southern side of the map and kind of taking a little bit of an unorthodox approach, and they'll maybe be able to catch a team off guard who's kind of lacking, not checking their backs.
Well, what's great is that you pretty much taking that little bit of damage early on, which is not a big trade-off. No, you're going to be eliminating an entire side of where most teams can come from. Pretty much any team, realistically, will not be coming from behind them once they rotate. So they'll have everything in front of them to play for. That means it's hard if they get basically caught up in a choke. But, hey, the Bling team right there, I mean, the only thing they're missing is gold teeth at this point. I feel very confident in their ability to manage this somehow. They've managed their finances well enough, and I think right now the price of gold stock-wise is definitely going up. Alberlelli and the rest of them using those syringes and, just getting more and more value for those gold shields right away. And look at this. They run across an unsuspecting team in the zone. This could be madness for them.
Oh, and you're going to see they're playing Horizon as well. It's going to be Alberlelli on the Wraith, Nocturnal on Horizon as well. So a little bit more of a composition change up from what we see in Europe and other Legends being played, and that diversity coming through, and it's going to be easy kills for them to pick off as well. The 3-2-1 initially wasn't too effective as far as taking that player down, but they do get the first complete squad wipe, I believe, here. And that's going to be points on the board here for Team Liquid, and with full gold armor as well, they're not pressured into zone here.
No,
they can take their time and heal up. They're not going to be forced into making any kind of moves they don't want to.
They're going wider too, which is... It's starting to get to that point where you have to make a decision, because running in zone right now, if you try to take zone 2, could be a little perilous if you get caught in a fight. But luckily, even though they go around, they may not have that much to travel before they do get into safety. Really, that outside orange ring coming into the gray when this round closes in 30 seconds, not too far to travel. So they do have that going for them as well. And just shout-outs to Nocturnal playing Horizon. And Onset, I kind of want to take this second, since we still have 19 seconds, to talk a little bit about Horizon, because we're looking out for it. We saw some Rampart in EU, but Horizon to me is the legend that is in that top 5 conversation without being in the top 5 quite yet. It's the it's that next legend that I feel like, given enough time with these players having the ability to practice the value of her movement, which is really invaluable and almost incalculable, the amount of things you can do with her ability. I really feel like she's got some potential in the right hands to kind of usurp a couple of these team compositions and really take a main spot that is here to stay in Apex for a while.
I completely agree with you, and I think Nocturnal is one of those players who has recognized that as well. And if you get Horizon to endgame as well, not only obviously her ultimate ability of being able to suck everyone into one place and then throw those nades down, the wombo combo, whatever you want to call it, is extremely effective, but having that Q while all of the fighting is going down below you to lift yourself up into the air and give you that extra little bit of breathing space is absolutely huge. And even in these positions, look, you can fire shots down as well from teams who might have been trying to get angles on you. Team Liquid and Horizon's abilities being shown for everyone to see.
I mean, how hard is that vertically to, in the middle of a fight when someone's pushing you horizontally, look up and just basically hit a shot? It's so hard. Albrelli just got out of the fight, came down, hit 70 for a massive, and essentially won. And again, we mentioned these gold shields coming into play. It's part of their strategy, which sometimes you see the shielding impact how players play less obviously. This is so obvious. They're willing to go into the zone. They know a shield cell will get them farther than anyone else they're fighting, and it's just a matter of cleaning this last player up. They know it's almost done and dusted. Don't want to risk Albrelli, but again, a shield cell pops him back into full, and that is going to be it. Girth TV slimming down there as far as falling out of the picture, but still plenty of time in this game in order to increase the length that he is staying alive.
So Liquid showing a very interesting strategy in our game number 1 here. And most importantly, interesting strategy 1, but being effective with it, it becomes a viable strategy as well for them. You can see there's a team of 2 down in front of them as well in that truck that's been pinged that they might be aware of as well. So Team Liquid here in a pretty good position. Don't have too far to move as well here towards that next circle. CLG on the blue crate inside of Sorting Factory as well. And they're trying to put a little bit of pressure onto this team inside though, and Madness maybe getting a little bit too hungry there as he did do some damage. His 2 teammates now flying through to maybe get that res portaling back, so Madness will be in position to get res. Lou's going to be holding the line while they do try and get Madness back up, but I kind of like that, to be honest with you, from CLG. Yeah. It didn't work, but as we say, it's better to be proactive than reactive in these lobbies. If you have an opportunity, it's better to try and create that than be the team that's being aggressed onto.
Yeah, it's better to punch first, especially in these moments where third parties don't feel like they're quite yet close enough to each other to be able to really capitalize off a skirmish like that. Especially with Sorting Factory, where you have these 3 main levels that you're fighting on. That lower level, this kind of mid-level where a lot of teams take the cubbies on either side, north, south, east, or west, and kind of hide down between the stairs. And then the upper level, which consists of half a level above that itself on top of the roof. So you have so many different layers. Sorting Factory is a little bit more precarious to push, and as you can see here, Liquid Flanker in a precarious situation himself. He goes down. Nocturnal's the only one alive. It's the Horizon. Can he somehow make this happen? There's Madness around him. He's lost his 2 teammates on set. This is not looking good.
1 player alive inside of that truck as well, and I believe that was a team of 2 inside as well, so a little bit of a shaky moment here for Team Liquid, to be honest with you. It looked like they had everything going their way. They got the Horizon ultimate inside. They got some nades inside. You would expect to see big numbers popping off if you do get those 2 combined. However, it just didn't fall their way in that particular circumstance. And now it's up for Nocturnal to recover those banners, to push in. And you can still see here he's a little bit wary. He's thinking that, did we finish that team off? Did that team get finished? Or do I have to be careful tiptoeing up here to make sure I'm not caught off guard?
Yeah, he's there, right there. Boom, big shot, though. It's only blue. He knows he's got the lead here, especially as far as the shield. He's got to get banners. That's key. Can't get third-partied here. G7 Scouts raining, and he's got all the banners. He's got a shield swap if he needs it, but this is not where he wants to be. He just gets the other shield from his teammate. They're not going to be using it quite right now, and he's got to find an answer. No mobile respawn beacons. It looks like he could try to make a play outside of that camping RV and just basically say, can we just get it without being pushed? But right now, the action is with CLG, who, again, taking high ground, looking to get aggressive. Vaxilon, Madness, and Lou back to full. And the Bloodhound ultimate still ready and available if they want to use it. And that's a kill. Bronzy, he's going to go down. Beautiful timed EVA 8 shot to get the finish from Madness.
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing here from Canalogic Gaming early on in this first game of the day. Now we're going to have a look at where that zone is pulling as well. And it looks like it is going to be pulling towards the toilet just outside of Sorting Factory, where Solar Fide are currently residing. So Solar Fide in a very good position. Counter Logic Gaming in a pretty good spot as well around those blue bins, although they are going to have to move up a little bit to their west to make sure that they're inside of that next zone. But if you can see so many teams outside right now of where that next circle is going to be pulling, this is the interesting moment for me, right? As we see the team tracker who's been eliminated already in this game, this is where we see big decisions being made. This is where you see fights being forced by teams as they have to make their way in.
And it's actually, going back to the story of Liquid, who are playing Horizon, who had all those gold shields, it's actually great that some of these other big teams are still alive. You're talking about Solar Fide. You're talking about NRG. We followed MST, who had a nice, decent start. We'll see if they can finish that off. We're talking about TSM. We're talking about a lot of these teams that are going to, especially Sentinels, take the attention away from solo players, at least until we get into that top 8. And I think that's something that hopefully Nocturnal will be able to play off, especially since he can kind of circumvent these hard choke points that this area Sorting Factory has. Trying to get over the high ground really forces you to take a rope or to take a long way around half the time on set. And the fact that he's Horizon, using that gravitational lift to just get up and kind of get into play without actually having to run across too many teams in a direct path, could be an advantage here to keep Liquid's hopes alive. And he's already gotten there. Look,
How has he got here?
And how do they not know he's right there? He's right next to Solar Fide. And oh my goodness,
Can he reach? Wow.
God.
Okay, well, if you wanted to see the value of Horizon in one game of Apex Legends, you are seeing it right now. Now, the thing is here for Nocturnal as well, he can grief fights as well with his ultimate ability as well. If he can throw that down in the middle of a fight, then he could pick up 2-3 KP, as well as making that fight incredibly difficult for the two teams who are involved. So he's only going to have something to say here, as we're going to see an interesting late rotation, coming in from Counter Logic Gaming through the ring down to the low ground. And to be honest with you, I kind of like this. It's going to avoid a lot of fights that are going down above them as teams are rotating in from the north side of the map to the south.
Yeah, Madness gets in trouble. He realizes he has to Q. He didn't want to use it, but he has to do it now. There's too much damage coming in. And they are going to get aggressed on. This could have been a little bit of a misplay there in terms of the amount of damage, but 12 seconds, and that's going to be perfectly timed for the defensive bombardment. They may have just a half a second or so where that's still landing in their shield drops, but it's going to be enough to heal up in case, unless someone pushes. And just as you mentioned, Onset, look at this. Nocturnal out of control, out of line of sight thanks to Horizon, and looking to maybe throw that ultimate and grief somebody who's unsuspecting. Rogue. Boy, oh boy, I'd be unsuspecting with that R301 hitting that hard. Congratulations. He is the R301 master, and he's showing it right there on display.
So 16 squads now remaining in our first game of the day, as Madness will be eliminated there by 0+. Nocturnal still alive on top of that toilet as well, and when you can see that ring as well, you can see that the top of that toilet is going to be inside of the next zone as well. So teams are going to be forced to fight. Nocturnal can kind of just watch it all happen. So for Team Liquid, the perilous situation has kind of turned into a pretty healthy one, to be honest with you. Yes, they're only down to one player, but Horizon already proving her worth, as we previously said. NRG now, this new look lineup with Sweet, Rocker, and Nathan trying to creep their way in, but they're on the quick side of the circle, and they've got the furthest to travel, so this is going to be pretty difficult for them to try and work their way in. However, nice shots there with the Hemlock are going to make it a little bit easier, and it's going to level up that Evo shield from a blue to a purple.
You got to push on this. We saw Rogue get damage with the R301, but now we're going to have to see NRG, who's actually playing here, representing NRG as a full team, make some moves. Kubsky goes down, and that's a big one, because if you can get Kubsky down, the talent in the lobby just shrunk quite a bit. That player, that man right there, he knows what to do with a weapon in his hand, but so does Solar Fide. And they're going to take down Sentinel's Crust up on top. I thought TSM was in a good spot, but Kyun will find reps, and that will put Snipe down and Imperial Howl in a precarious situation, but they've gotten out of worse on set, and I feel like this is a moment where things could change. The lobby could tilt and shift on its axis right here, especially if TSM, Howl, and Snipe down cannot get out of this.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to make a desperate rotation as well. You can see the ultimate been popped here by the Bloodhound player, and that's going to be Snipe down. Howl goes down, so it's all up to Snipe down now for TSM fans to stay alive in this situation, wait for the carnage around him to do the damage. And by staying alive for these few seconds, for playing this knockdown shield, he's managed to gain 3 placements in those first few moments. So that is the value of staying alive in this carnage. A Solar Fide now overlook the scenery of death that is going down in front of them, and they're just going to be able to shoot everybody rotating in.
Finding tech as well. Solar Fide have been in the prime position on this rotation, but let's not forget about Liquid. We have to remember that NRG pushed, but they weren't completely out. Nathan and Rocker got killed, but Sweet was able to stay alive. And is Nocturnal still up there? That's the question I want to ask answered, but we will find that in just a moment. If he is, he's staying quiet, which he definitely should be. And I don't see how anyone want to focus him that high in a rotation this horizontal.
He's still up there.
He is. He's still up
82 meters
there.
above
What did
everything that's going down below him.
Oh my God! And it's 8th place. It's under 8th place. I mean, this is exactly what we were saying with the power of Horizon to really use also just that fact that he's a solo, not create too much conversation around him. There's all these other great teams still in the lobby, and Team Cruelty with the inside here. They've got Solifide above them on set, but I kind of like their spot right now, especially with the final circle.
I kind of want to watch Nocturnal in this moment.
His ult's coming out.
Yeah, he's got to throw the ult. He could throw his Q down as well. He could get a crazy jump on some of these teams and essentially jump himself over using that gravitational lift to avoid all of the carnage that's going on. So this is a big moment here for Team Liquid in this game, number one, but it's also as big a moment for every single team that is involved here. 6 squads now remaining. Rogue, and you can see dropped and 0+, in my opinion, probably in one of the strongest positions. But look, Tech's team have just moved in below them. They're going to be forcing them now. This is going to be pressure coming in.
And I like Tech's spot right here as well. I think they're going to get a little bit of focus, but I love their spot. They're actually calling a mobile respawn beacon down just to create cover, which is a brilliant use of that item. And oh, there's the ultimate. The Black sucks them all in. Nocturnal says go to sleep. Oh my God, he's causing havoc, and he jumps right back up. He's above, floating like an angel over the battlefield. The newest legend in Apex Legends, making a statement here in NA Game 1. And now 6 squads still remaining on set.
Everybody isn't looking at Nocturnal, and now all of a sudden he's using his Q once more. He's floating like a butterfly.